Hello everyone, welcome back to Surgery Made Simple. This is Manish, surgery resident. Today we are going to discuss on the topic intestinal obstruction. What are the different types and how will we approach a case and what are the different management strategies. So please do watch my other videos and please subscribe to my channel, Surgery in Scrubs. Without any further ado, let's get into the topic. Okay, let's start the topic with the different types of intestinal obstruction. We'll divide grossly into pediatric and adult groups. In pediatric, again this is classified into newborn and children. In newborns, those are the embryological anomalies like duodenal atresia, jejunal atresia, ileal atresia, annular pancreas, where the pancreas completely surrounds the second part of the duodenum, and midgut volvulus, and even hypertrophic pyloric stenosis. So these are all the causes of intestinal obstruction in newborn. The most common cause is duodenal atresia. Now we'll see the causes in children. Intussusception, most common is ileocolic type, stricture, adhesions, volvulus, and hernia. Again, in children, the most common cause of intestinal obstruction is intussusception. Now we'll see in adults. Adults will divide it again into mechanical and pseudo obstruction. Mechanical is also called as dynamic obstruction. So in mechanical, the causes will be adhesions, neoplasms, stricture, volvulus, hernia. So among these, most common small intestinal obstruction cause is adhesions, whereas neoplasms is the most common cause in the large intestine. So we'll see the pseudo obstruction causes. The most common cause is dyselectrolytemia, that is due to decreased potassium levels, and this is seen in post-operative period known as paralytic ileus. Next is autonomic neuropathy, seen in diabetics, and another Hirschsprung disease, and next is myopathy, and finally Ogilvie syndrome. It is a pseudo-colonic obstruction. This is regarding the gross classification of intestinal obstruction. Now we'll see the differences between mechanical and pseudo obstruction. In mechanical obstruction, there will be more bowel sounds initially, with later they becoming absolutely absent. And whereas initially throughout the process, in the pseudo obstruction there won't be any bowel sounds. And cardinal symptoms like nausea, vomiting, abdominal distension, and pain will be present in more effective in dynamic obstruction, whereas they are absent in pseudo obstruction. They will be having a dull pain, whereas colic abdomen is a feature in the dynamic obstruction. And main important differentiating feature between the pseudo and mechanical obstruction is the rectal gas shadow. Rectal gas shadow is absent in the dynamic obstruction, and whereas it is seen in the pseudo obstruction. So whenever there is mechanical obstruction, it is a surgical emergency, but if it is in pseudo obstruction, it should be conservatively managed. Next, we'll see how will we approach a case of mechanical obstruction. Any approach will be started by clinical examination. In the clinical examination, we'll able to see the cardinal symptoms of obstruction. Those are colicky abdominal pain, abdominal distension, nausea, vomiting, and constipation or obstipation. Obstipation is absolute constipation, where the patient is unable to pass the stools as well as flatus. And next, depending on the presenting situation, we need to resuscitate the patient with the help of a nasogastric tube. This is useful for decompression, and IV fluids are required to battle the hypovolemic shock, and IV antibiotics are given. This is to prevent the septic shock due to the bacterial overgrowth. The anaerobic bacteria will be expressed in more number, resulting in a septic shock, and NSAIDs are given to treat the pain. After resuscitating, we'll order for the first investigation. It is X-ray erect abdomen and X-ray supine abdomen. Among these, X-ray supine is definitely a better choice, because it not only gives the signs of obstruction, but it also localizes the obstruction, so we can able to see at what level the obstruction is there. Whereas in X-ray erect abdomen, you can only see multiple air fluid levels. So the usual number of air fluid levels will be 3 to 5. The more the duration of obstruction, more will be the number of air fluid levels. And greater than or equal to 6 is considered to be an obstruction. So duration is directly proportional to the total number of air fluid levels. If we are unable to find these obstructive features in an X-ray, the next investigation of choice is contrast enhanced CT. And from that, we have to, again, based on the clinical presentation, we'll categorize the patient into stable, unstable, and damage control scenario. Stable patient is one who has systolic blood pressure greater than or equal to 90 millimeters of mercury. Unstable is one who has got less than 90 millimeters of mercury. In damage control scenario, the patient SPP is not recordable. So whenever this stable patient is there, we need to do a definitive surgery, it depending on the underlying cause. So for example, if the cause is adhesions, we need to do adhesiolysis. If the cause is hernia, we should do hernioplasty after reduction. If it is intussusception, we should do milking of the contents. And finally, if it is a growth, we need to do resection and anastomosis. This is the regarding the management in a stable patient. Now, the same patient, if he is having a systolic blood pressure less than 90, we should do a temporary surgery, that is non-definitive surgery. If it is a small intestinal obstruction, we should do a loop ileostomy for decompression. If it is a large intestinal obstruction, we should do a loop colostomy and for immediate decompression purpose. Later followed by definitive surgery after 6 to 10 weeks. If it is in a damage control scenario, we should do a proximal colostomy or ileostomy similar to that of a patient who is in unstable, but we should shift the patient to the ICU for 48 to 72 hours observation. Then later he is shifted to from the ICU. Once the patient improves, we will do a definitive surgery. This is regarding intestinal obstruction. I hope you all learned something new from this session. If you are interested in more such surgery topics, please do subscribe to my online classes, Surgery Made Simple. And please do follow me on my Insta, Surgery in Scrubs. Details will be given in the description below. And thank you for watching. Signing off.